renting a UK flat in 2020.
Oh, is this ours? Is this our new flat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see it. Yeah, go on, show us what you got. Let's go.
Hey!
Connor, what the f*** is this, man?
Yeah.
The rental market in London is abysmal. I went to view an apartment the other day. It was marketed as a one-bedroom flat. It was about the size of my auntie's kitchen.
If you wanted to create a housing crisis, you would pretty much do to the letter what we've done in Britain in the last 40 years. You would sell off council houses, more than 1 million, and you would stop councils from replacing them, from rebuilding them.
My landlord tried to increase that to £1,100 a month.
No one can afford shit, especially not property prices that are £1,200 a month to rent. That's insane. Like, this country's
Okay, so here's a trend I see happening in the next decade is we all know that there's homeless people right now. I think in the future, in the next decade, we're going to see a lot of what I'm going to call the working homeless.
If you think your life is hard, trust me, someone out there has it worse, and that someone is me. Because living in London is not just hard, it's borderline impossible.
I have less than 2 months and let's look for a house or an apartment or a studio or a room. God damn it, give me something.
This is not a trend, this is survival instinct. For countries that have collapsed and the rent is too expensive and the food is too expensive and all the prices are too expensive for a single person or even 2 people to afford to pay the rent, this is what happens. You end up living in your car just to survive. It's not a trend.
How do people find flats? This is actually the most stressful thing ever.
I'm absolutely fed up in a way of just everything going up. Now, if the rent on this house goes up, which it is going to, I'm going to be stuffed.
I sure understand why they're staying here. But Wales is expensive, especially here in Bristol. I was looking at hotels before and I don't even think I'm going to stay here because of how expensive it can be.
So, as a UK citizen who works full-time, I cannot afford to live here. Oh no, I'll be on the streets in the next 5 years. I've discussed this.
I've been living in the back of my van in Edinburgh for a year now, save money on rent and bills.
People often ask me if it's difficult living in a van in a city. It is, but not as difficult as paying £1,000 a month to a property conglomerate based in Dubai for the pleasure of sharing a flat in Catford.
All right, you guys have been asking for a room tour of my storage place living situation, so here we go.
If you wanted to create a housing crisis, you would pretty much do to the letter what we've done in Britain in the last 40 years. You would sell off council houses, more than 1 million, and you would stop councils from replacing them, from rebuilding them. You would have house price inflation, so people on low and then modest incomes can no longer afford to buy a home, which pushes them into the private rental sector. You then don't regulate or reform the private rental sector to give renters any protection against quick-fire evictions. And then on top of that, you consistently don't build enough houses. So rent goes up, competition goes up, and you end up in situations like this. What we're seeing here, Tom, being no doubt, is years, decades in the making. And I have to say, as you've said, the gap between the problem and the solution is big. Both parties, the Conservative Party and the Labour Party, say housing is a priority. I see little evidence that is the case. Rishi Sunak has his 5 pledges, not one of them is on housing. Keir Starmer has his 5 pledges, none of them are on housing. There's little detail in Labour's plan. Many people say what is needed here is a kind of 1950s style response, a mass house building across the country. That is not being proposed by either country. This problem is not a housing crisis, it's a housing emergency, and we're seeing the working poor becoming the working homeless in this country.
Okay, so here's a trend I see happening in the next decade is we all know that there's homeless people right now, and the homeless people today consist of a lot of people that happen to be on drugs. There's a lot of mental illness or disabled people that have been abandoned, things like that. I think in the future, in the next decade, we're going to see a lot of what I'm going to call the working homeless. There's so many people right now on edge that have no money, no assets. They're struggling to even pay rent on their apartment, and they're just not making it. They don't get welfare. They don't qualify for any kind of assistance. A lot of people are just struggling to even eat. So I think what's going to happen is, but they do have probably a car, even if it's one that's on the repo list. Repo lists are really high right now, or it could just be a really old car. But I think there's going to be a growing trend of people that become working homeless and they live in their cars. I've already seen some of it. And it's just going to be people that they have a job, but they don't make enough to pay for their apartment because their apartment's too much, and they don't have any family or friends to kind of share a room with, things like that. So I think the working homeless is going to become a big thing. Not today. It's happening a little bit today, but I think in the next decade, it's going to be a big thing. I think you'll see a lot of it. I would estimate you might even have 1 million or more people like that are just parking in like maybe places like Walmart or Target or Home Depot. They're parking like at night, and then maybe moving their cars around to not get in trouble, things like that. But I think it's going to be a growing thing because you do have a lot of people that are on the very edge, but they do have a vehicle. And you're much safer staying in a vehicle than sleeping behind a building somewhere, things like that. But that's what I see happening. It's a very scary and sad thing, but I don't know if anybody else sees this trend, but if y'all do, I don't know if there's any opinions on this, but that's what I think.
Renting a UK flat in 2020.
Oh, is this ours? Is this our new flat? Yeah, I want to see it. Yeah, go on, show us what you got. Let's go.
Hey!
Connor, what the fuck is this, man?
Yeah? What do you think?
We can't stay here, dude. There's no room.
It's the flat.
How are we going to stay here for 12 months? We've got no space.
It's fine. It's hybrid. It's like, sleep, kitchen, bathroom.
Where the fuck are we going to put all of our stuff?
That's storage. What do you think these are, mate? Come on.
Yeah, but, right, fine. Where are we going to go for a fucking shower? About a wash?
There is running water, Ben. I did check that there was running water.
Okay, fair enough. Good. Yeah. How much are we paying then?
£5 grand.
£5 grand. £2,500 each.
That was cheap.
That is pretty cheap, actually, considering...
It's 2025.
It is 2025.
You got to roll with the times.
Fair.
You got to...
You know what? I'm sorry for moaning. Let's just move our shit in.
There's a new trend forming, and it's living in your car. This is my home. I live in my car because the cost of living. I have been outpriced at the rental market.
Sorry, just gotta stop you there. It's not a trend. This is not a trend. This is survival instinct. For countries that have collapsed and the rent is too expensive and the food is too expensive and all the prices are too expensive for a single person or even two people to afford to pay the rent, this is what happens. You end up living in your car just to survive. It's not a trend. Let's be very, very clear about that. But there are solutions. And unfortunately, it means moving and living in another country. As you can see, the prices here in the Western world, where it's modern and forward, right, are just too expensive. This is England, and here we go. Let's look at America. These prices, according to the jobs, it's not enough. You won't be able to save money. You won't be able to do anything. But here's the prices here in Asia. And do you think you'd be able to afford that? Basically, you can have 6 months here for 1 month there. Do you think people are living in their cars in Asia? Asian people, let us know in the comments if you see this video.
Welcome to Bristol, otherwise known as Caravan City. See, outside of London, Bristol is one of the most expensive places to live and rent in the whole of the UK. And a lot of people have opted for, instead of paying rent, living in a caravan on the side of a road. I can sure sympathise and empathise with these people. I sure understand why they're staying here. The world is expensive, especially here in Bristol. I was looking at hotels before and I don't even think I'm going to stay here because of how expensive it can be. It's not without its controversy or issues. Some of the local residents aren't so happy about people living here. They complain about problems with rubbish, etc. Just look at that. Now I'm parked at the very end of this little strip. If I don't move in 2 hours, I will get a parking ticket. But I'm pretty sure a lot of these caravans, camper vans, etc. have not moved in months or years. This one has to be my personal favourite. Look at that. A lot of efforts went into that. Looks like they have a rooftop, a basketball net. It's insane.
Kicking off. Streets of London. About 40 people,
So I have got some very difficult decisions to make, and it involves possibly trading my home for a van. I have so much research to do. I mean, this has always kind of been a thought in the back of my head, for a number of years. I'm certainly not in a financial position to just go out and actually buy a van that's ready made to live in. So I'm going to have to be smart about this if it's something that I'm going to go ahead with. What's making me consider it more now is recently being told by my landlord that he may have to put the rent up. And in all honesty, I'm getting to that line now where I'm just like loads of people, you know, like probably half the country, I'm absolutely fed up in a way of just everything going up. Now, if the rent on this house goes up, which it is going to, I'm going to be stuffed. I'm not saying that van life is cheap. This is all what I'm looking into, and I would be very grateful for any advice from anyone that already does van life on what I can expect. But just as a little bit of a backstory, I've only been in this house for a year and a half. It is rented. The house that I lived in before, which was also rented, was quite a large property. It was an old Victorian house spread over 4 floors, which came in very handy for me as far as the photography stuff goes and the modelling stuff. I was able to, you know, use it as a studio. What crippled me on that house, even though the rent was higher than this one, it was actually the council tax. The council tax was a band E, which is hideously expensive for the Northwest. And that is what buggered me up. And then, of course, with it being a bigger house, the heating, that was a lot more money. So I had to, you know, downsize to the house that I'm in now. And even now, I'm struggling because since I've been here, everything has gone up again. I'm behind on my gas and electric bill. I'm now just fallen behind on my council tax bill. And now the landlord tells me that he's probably going to be putting the rent up before the year is out. Like, my shopping, it's almost non-existent. I'm usually running out of food before the next time I'm paid, and there's times I'm not eating right or I'm not eating at all. Something has to change at some point along the line, and I'm fed up of doing this now. So because of my lack of financial means, I am looking at getting a decent second-hand van and actually doing it up from scratch. The little bit of an advantage that I have there is my dad is a builder. He's very, very good at his job, and I just announced to my dad last night, and I said to him, I'm like, Pops, I think I want to get a van and do this and all that lot. So he's actually coming by this evening, and we're just running over a few things on, you know, tallying up a rough cost. I'm going to keep this one short for now, but I'm going to post another video a little bit later on explaining the details of exactly what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. I'm going to see what my dad says when he comes over now, and yeah, I'll catch up with you in a little while.
Further proof that the UK as a country is absolutely cooked. The flat underneath mine is currently for rent. It's been on the market for almost a month now. Now, I live in one of the most expensive areas of the UK. So the 1-bedroom flat underneath me is on the market at £1,200 a month. I would like to reiterate that I don't pay nearly that much. I've been here a long, long time, and I'm very lucky to have a landlady that doesn't have a mortgage. So I pay a lot less than that. But that's the average cost. That's the average cost of a 1-bedroom flat where I live. Now, when it was on the market a year ago, because the guy that's just moved out has only been here a year, over 2 days, there was a constant rotation of people coming to view the flat. Like, every hour and a half, there was someone else coming to view the flat, and a week later, someone moved in. So it went really, really fast. And it was on for the same price last year as well. So it went up on Rightmove, and 3 days later it was not there anymore because someone had taken it. A year later, and it's been on the market for almost a month, and in that time 3 people in total have come to view it. 3 people. And they've got an open house today because it's Saturday, and not one single person has turned up yet. Not one person. No one can afford shit, especially not property prices that are £1,200 a month to rent. That's insane. Like, but it boggles my mind that in the space of a year, like, that's how much things have changed in the space of 12 months. Like, this country's fucked.
Hi, baby. I need to talk about this. I'm moving house, right? And the rental market in London is abysmal. I went to view an apartment the other day. It was marketed as a 1-bedroom flat. It was about the size of my auntie's kitchen, and there was a separation in the middle, which was like a screen door that you could see through. The bedroom was smaller than my bed, and the living room would not fit a table and chairs and a sofa, so you have to decide which one you want. But the icing on the cake was the fact that the only windows in the apartment were windows into the communal hallway. So no windows to outside, no natural light whatsoever. And it costs £1,300 a month, £1,300 to live in a box with no natural light. I literally, the look on my face when I saw it, I don't even know how the agent could look me in the eye. It was unbelievable. I can't believe people are living like this for that much money. Oh, it's fucking outrageous.
All right, you guys have been asking for a room tour at my my storage place living situation, so here we go. Big reveal. There's the bed. Super comfy, straight on the ground with a pillow and the recording setup. And this is where the magic goes down. It's like, I don't even know, 8 by 8. I love it.
Have you ever cried as an adult? Because I did the first night I lived in a storage unit. I didn't cry when I was made homeless, but living in the storage unit was one of the loneliest points of my life. At first, I slept on a duvet on the floor. The floor was concrete and cold, the walls were metal, and it was winter. And later on, I upgraded to an airbed. I was friendly with the staff who worked at the storage units. They may not have known that I was living in there, but from my good intentions that I perceived, they let me use the kitchen. It was very useful to have on hand. The storage unit itself was located in the middle of a hallway. There was plug sockets outside, which I wired a cable through the roof to so I could have electricity in the unit. I chucked up an internet booster, as I didn't have any signal when I was in there. Over the years, I've received a lot of questions about how I locked my storage unit, and in my opinion, it was quite tactical. On the outside of the storage unit, I hung my lock, the lock that I used when I wasn't there. It was placed on the door, so if someone walked past, it would just look like an ordinary storage unit. But along closer investigation, you'd realise it's actually been locked open. This means that no one could lock me inside. And then once I was in the storage unit, I locked it with bungee cables. Now, a lot of people might think this is stupid, but let me explain. The bungee cables were hooked onto the door and stretched along the side of the wall. This meant that on the outside, you couldn't open the door. And this stood the test of time, as at one point, someone tried to break into the storage unit. They were rattling against the door and trying to get their fingers in, but these bungee cords held up. I had two. I had one at the top and one at the bottom, and they worked. It meant that I didn't have to drill any holes into the metal walls, and it kept everything more streamlined.
So I recently found out that I've got a job in Manchester. Very excited, can't wait. How do people find flats? This is actually the most stressful thing ever. Like, not just the fact that it's Christmas, everyone's busy, but like spare room. The ads are either like amazing, but they don't get back to me, or there's no photos on it, or like just something doesn't work. I found this amazing room. I was going to FaceTime them this morning and they were like, oh, it's already taken. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm having a meltdown.
The realities of van life hit hard this morning. As you've all probably realised yourselves, after a couple of weeks of sunshine, British weather has returned. Now, a lot of people have asked me what urban van life is really like. I will admit that on social media, a lot of what you see about van life is only part of it. But the day-to-day is a lot less glamorous, especially for an urban van lifer like myself. I've been living in the back of my van in Edinburgh for a year now, to save money on rent and build. For the next few weeks, though, I'm taking some time off work to finish my study. I haven't mentioned this before, but I'm in my 5th and final year of my law degree through the Open University. I've been studying this part-time whilst working full-time as an electrician in Edinburgh and living in a van. Despite the poor weather today, I wanted to talk about one of the main advantages of van life, and that is obviously how you don't have to pay money on rent and bills. Because I've been saving for a house anyway, I've got 30 grand cash. This, plus the fact I live in a van, means that I can sustain myself for a few weeks and probably a few months actually, whilst I work on studying for my last module. So my point is that despite the weather sometimes being not so good, the freedom that van life gives me in not having to work when I need to, and in some cases even being able to move around the country like I have done to find work, to me this outweighs the downside with things like the weather and not necessarily having your own private space. I hope this video has answered the questions that people were asking about the realities of van life. Now, if you do genuinely have any other questions about van life, then please let me know in the comment section. And thank you again for watching.
Day one of living in a camper van in central London while working full time. Well, technically today I'm currently in zone 2. I wake up and first things first, I check outside for the ops, aka the local traffic warden. All clear and I am ravenous, so quickly do some oats with chopped banana and pour out a quick black coffee. People often ask me if it's difficult living in a van in a city. It is, but not as difficult as paying £1,000 a month to a property conglomerate based in Dubai for the pleasure of sharing a flat in Catford. I'm working from the van today, so I head out for a quick mental health walk before work starts. The biggest privilege of living in a van is that my garden can be whichever site of natural beauty I decide to pull up at. I don't pay council tax, but if I did, I'd be fuming. I arrive back just before work to see someone has driven into my wing mirror. This could be a disaster, but luckily I always bring backup. At this point, I'm thinking of naming my right wing mirror Lily Phillips and my left wing mirror Bonnie Blue, because the moment I turn my back, there seems to be a queue of people waiting to smash them. Crisis averted, I jump into work. I work through my lunch break like the good little boy they pay me to be. Done for the day, I have a quick tidy up. I do a quick bit of editing, but it's getting dark and chilly, so I heat up some leftover spag bowl to eat while I watch Severance. It's the middle of February and it's freezing in the van tonight, so time to put on my gym jams and get under the covers where I can sleep easy knowing I've gone the whole day without making any landlords richer.
So, I've been in my bank tonight, and I'll tell you something. As a UK citizen, I cannot afford to live in the UK. I work full-time, and I've not got a penny to my name. We sold a house in 2016. We haven't got a penny to our name. You can't pay rent, drive a car, and I'll tell you something, I've got to decide now whether to sleep on the streets and live in my car, or get rid of my car and try and walk it to work on these unsafe streets, because believe me, at 4:30 in the morning, you go to work, you think it's all quiet, there's people lurking around. So as a UK citizen who works full-time, I cannot afford to live here. I'll be on the streets in the next 5 years. I've discussed this. So another British citizen who works full-time living on the streets because we can't afford to live, that is the horror of living in the UK. I'm working every hour that God sends. I work 6 days a week. I work from 5 a.m. till 6 p.m. and I've not got a penny to my name. By the time you've paid your security on your laptop, your mobile phone, your car insurance, your rent, your food, you have absolutely nothing. Why people want to come to the UK is beyond me. Maybe everything's handed to them, free this, free that, because when you're a British citizen, you have absolutely nothing. I go to the pharmacist. I went there 2 weeks ago. There was 8 of us in there. I was the only one who paid nearly £11 for a prescription. Nobody else paid. So an honest UK citizen who works cannot afford to live in this country. I've dealt with the devil. I'm going to be on the streets in the next 5 years. And that's the way it is. Why people are so interested in the UK is beyond me, because it's the most depressing country and you cannot afford to live here. You just can't afford to live here. It's the most disgusting place. So I'm even driving around now looking at places where I can sleep overnight. And I'm thinking that's how bad it is. Why do you want to come here? Because it's more... because we don't get things handed to us. We don't get an apartment with rent paid. We don't get a bloody scooter. We don't get a mobile phone. We get nothing like that. We work. And it's taken away from us and I just can't afford to live anymore, guys. So I just don't know what I'm going to do because I just can't afford it. I have 2 bank accounts and both are virtually empty. So I'll be on the streets in the next 5 years, guys. And I tell you what, I'll put it all on here as well. How I work full time and I can't afford to live, and I'll be on the streets. Definitely on the streets in the next 5 years. Because when you're a British citizen, nobody wants to know you. Nobody. They don't care. They take all your money and leave you. Oh, and I can't retire. I'll have to literally work like everybody else. I'll have to work till I drop dead one day at work, and that'll be it, because you just can't afford it. I just can't afford to live in the UK. I just can't do it, guys.
It's great that it's finally becoming more expensive for landlords in the UK to let out their property, but has anyone else noticed that it's just the tenants picking up the bill? Before 2020, landlords, or what I like to call land bastards, had some tax relief on their properties because they were able to deduct mortgage interest payments from their rental income. Thankfully, that is being phased out. Also, stamp duty has increased from 3% to 5% for buy-to-let properties. We love to see it. But I want to know how many tenants in the UK have seen a drastic increase to their rental prices. Me personally, I live in a 1-bed apartment, very small apartment. I pay £900 a month for it. My lease is up in June. My landlord tried to increase that to £1,100 a month. That is an increase of £200 a month. That is an increase of over 20%. Plus, my EPC rating is like an E or something. Like, the apartment I live in is not fit to live in during the winter months. My winter bill was £250 for a single occupant because he did nothing to try and insulate this place. He does not care. So whilst I think it's great that Labour has introduced these incentives to protect tenants, it's also kind of insulting that they've done that without introducing any cap on how much rent can increase. 20%? My salary has not risen 20%. You cannot say that it's inflation. Like 20%. Luckily, I have been saving hard and I'm on my way to be purchasing an apartment, but way quicker than what I had previously planned, because I am not doing another winter here and I am not paying £200 more per month for my pokey little apartment, which does not retain any heat. When I tell you I got chilblains on my feet throughout the winter, I'm not joking. I've got rugs everywhere in my place. Anyway, anyone else who has reached the end of their rental agreement and has seen a huge hike from their landlords, I want to know, how much was it? How much of a percentage increase? And did you fight back? Are there any protections for people who rent in the UK, for people who are paying off mortgages of people who already have monopolised housing and who are already making a significant income from monopolising property? And what else do we need to ensure that landlords aren't taking the piss out of us and to ensure that more of us can get onto the housing market?
If you think your life is hard, trust me, someone out there has it worse, and that someone is me. Because living in London is not just hard, it's borderline impossible. And this past week, easily the worst week of my life. Well, number one, I've been job hunting like for 2 months, 2 whole months, sending out CVs like crazily and writing different cover letters like my life depends on it because, well, it kind of does. And guess what? Still no job. And number two, 4 days before my lease ended, my next landlord casually decided that he no longer renting out the place. So in just 4 days, I have to pack up my entire life, 30 years of stuffs, and shove it all into a very depressing storage unit. And number three, my boyfriend, well, my ex-boyfriend now, thought the best time to ghost me for a whole week was right when I was running around London, desperately trying to move all my entire existence into storage. Then 2 days ago, he finally texted me to break up. That's very efficient. So to recap, in the past 7 days, still no job, lost my home, got ghosted and dumped. London life, absolutely thriving.
Okay. If you came from my previous one, this is another one. My contract in this accommodation, right? Still in accommodation. Wait till I rent. In this place, where are the rent? It's coming to an end. And it's like, okay, cool. I have like less than 2 months and let's look for a house or an apartment or a studio or a room. God damn it, give me something. Tell me why. It's my money that I want to use and rent. It's my money. Still, agents, they ghost me. You are ghosting me. As how? Property that you have, don't you want to rent it out? Like, okay, I did not say I even want to collect property. Let me go and view it. You said, don't worry, the property you're trying to view has already been let. You did not. Oh, God.
So I'll give you another luxury tour room of room number 2 of my Liverpool homestay, and because it's concert over in Anfield, I think Bruce Springsteen's playing, I think, and every hotel is chocker, and the prices they're charging are absolutely ridiculous. In this hotel, £150 a night for a basic room in a hotel, so I've had to go and share a dorm, and the dorm's £25 a night, so even for a dormitory that's expensive. I've only got one. This is all female, only 4 beds, and they're all lower, so I've stayed in these rooms before, but I do much prefer private rooms, which I'll go back into on Sunday. I'll give you a little room tour of where I stay, and no matter, like they say, rags to riches. I think it's riches to rags with me until I go travelling again, unfortunately, because the price of the hotels in the UK, even hostels, are absolutely outrageous. So I'll give you a little room tour and let me know in the comments, what a life would you live it? Would you sacrifice it for where I go and what I do? So this is a hostel room in Liverpool. I have to stay in over the weekend because the room rates are far too expensive, especially with having a concert on. The private rooms are over £100 a night, so I'm obviously not paying that. And I get this share for £20 a night. There's only one other girl at the moment, but I believe it's full all over the weekend. It's quiet, it's clean, and this is my abode. So it's like, it's not rags to riches, it's riches to rags with all my 5-star luxury. But this is my life, and this is how it is at the moment till I go travelling. This is the bathroom, it's nice and clean. So would you stay here for £20 a night, or would you pay for the private room of over £100 or something, even £150? For me, I don't mind. It's only for 2 nights and then I go back in the private room. But it's part of my living, and it's part of the way I get to do what I get to do and visit those amazing places and hotels, because when I go back to the UK, I don't have a home. If I did, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. And so therefore you have to sacrifice a few things in life, and one of them is obviously sharing a room. But I'm not here for too long now, and then off on my travels.
The housing crisis is not some fancy phrase for politicians to throw around during debates and then forget about. It is crushing the lives of real people in the real world. Just look reality straight in the face. In one of the richest countries in the world, there are still people who go to work every day, who have proper jobs, yet are forced to sleep in their cars, squeeze into makeshift rooms, live in storage units, or lie on the pavement simply because rent has become a bitter joke. This is not merely a failed policy. This is national level indifference. And the hardest thing to swallow is this: none of it happened by accident. This is not a flood, an earthquake, or some sudden disaster falling from the sky. This is the result of decades of bad choices, greed, the avoidance of responsibility, and the weakness of those in power. Landlords keep pushing rents higher and higher. Property developers leave homes empty, waiting for the right moment to cash in. Local councils gradually sell off social housing, and the government carries on pretending that affordable housing is still a real promise. But affordable for whom? For MPs? For chief executives? For people with several houses in their names? Because it certainly is not affordable for ordinary working people. We have been forced to get used to an absurd reality. Paying £1,500 a month for a damp one-bedroom flat is called market rent. Being crammed into a tiny room with strangers when you're already in your 30s is treated as normal. Having to sleep on friends' sofas, move back in with your parents in your 40s, or grab a few hours sleep in your car after a long shift is treated as though it is our personal failure. No, it is not our fault, it is theirs. And let us not forget the shameless hypocrisy in all of this. The very politicians who tell people to tighten their belts use public money to cover the costs of their second homes. The very local councils charging sky-high rents can somehow throw millions of pounds into flashy, pointless projects that do nothing for people who need a decent roof over their heads. Then there are the landlords who profit from other people's hardship, sitting there preaching that all you need to do is work hard and you will have a future. But millions of people across England are working hard every single day, and what they get in return is not stability, but debt, stress, and poverty. This is not just a housing crisis. This is a crisis of human dignity. It robs people of safety, stability, and the right to live like ordinary human beings. It turns one of the most basic needs, a roof over your head, into a financial tool used to squeeze people dry. It drives people into despair, exhaustion, shame, and makes them feel invisible. But one thing is very clear. The more we speak out, the harder it becomes for us to pretend we do not see it. And that is why I want to hear your stories. Do you know anyone who has been evicted because they could no longer afford the rent? Have you ever been pushed out of the place you lived because the rent rose too high? Are you stuck living with your parents, even though you are an adult, simply because you cannot afford a place of your own? Have you ever had to choose between rent, bills, food, and other basic necessities just to keep a roof over your head? Tell your story in the comments. This channel is not just a place for me to vent or complain. It is a space for ordinary people to speak the truth about what is happening in this broken England. And do not keep this video to yourself. Share it, send it to group chats. Post it on Facebook, Twitter, or anywhere people are still willing to listen, because the mainstream media will not speak plainly about this in the way it needs to be spoken about. They would rather keep us silent. They would rather have us blame ourselves. They would rather turn this into an individual problem than admit that it is a system bent to serve the rich while abandoning working people. But we will not stay silent any longer. If you are sick and tired of being ignored, if you want to stand with a growing community that dares to speak plainly, that dares to point out what is rotting in this country, then hit subscribe, hit like, and most importantly, join the conversation. Every comment, every share, every new subscriber makes it harder for them to keep hiding the truth. This is England in decline. This is the reality that so many people are forced to live through every single day. And if we do not expose it, if we do not demand better, then nothing will change. So keep speaking out, keep questioning, keep criticizing, and make sure they can never again pretend that we do not exist.